Nonviolence, or Ahimsa, is a principle deeply embedded in Buddhist teachings. It serves as a path to inner peace and harmonious relationships. In a world plagued by conflict and resentment, understanding and practicing nonviolence can transform individual lives and society as a whole. But how does Buddhism approach this practice, and what makes it distinct? This article delves into the profound wisdom of the Buddha's teachings on nonviolence, emphasizing empathy, forgiveness, and the courage to break cycles of hatred. Understanding the Buddhist perspective on nonviolence. At the core of Buddhist teachings on nonviolence lies a simple yet profound principle: empathy. The Buddha advises us to see the world through the perspective of others. By imagining ourselves in their situation, we can develop a deeper understanding of their pain and suffering. This mental exercise is the foundation for letting go of anger and embracing compassion. For example, imagine someone insults you in public. Instead of reacting with anger, Buddhism encourages you to pause and reflect. What might have driven this person to act this way? Are they struggling with inner pain or external pressures? This shift in perspective not only diffuses immediate tension, but also prevents the escalation of conflict. The destructive nature of anger and violence. The Buddha taught that anger solves no problems. Instead, it perpetuates a cycle of revenge, as seen in wars and personal conflicts. Consider the modern examples of long-standing conflicts like those in the Middle East or the war in Ukraine. These are stark reminders of how unresolved anger leads to the destruction of lives, families, and entire generations. A notable Buddhist parable illustrates this point. A man once came to the Buddha, enraged at his neighbor for destroying his crops. The Buddha, instead of chastising him for his anger, asked, "What will you gain from revenge?" The man realized that his anger only prolonged his suffering, while forgiveness offered freedom. Breaking the cycle of hatred. Practical steps. 1. Empathy. Begin by putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Ask yourself, if I were in their position, how would I feel? This practice cultivates understanding and softens the heart. 2. Mindfulness meditation. Regular meditation can help individuals observe their emotions without becoming consumed by them. For instance, when anger arises, acknowledge it. This is anger. With mindfulness, the emotion loses its power to control your actions. 3. Forgiveness as strength. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as weakness, but in Buddhism, it is seen as an act of immense courage. By forgiving, you break the chain of hatred and create space for healing. Example: a mother who lost her son in a violent attack forgives the perpetrator, turning her pain into advocacy for peace. This powerful act inspires others to choose compassion over vengeance. 4. Practicing loving kindness. Metta meditation involves sending thoughts of love and goodwill to yourself and others, including those who have wronged you. This practice can transform anger into compassion over time. The long-term benefits of nonviolence. Choosing nonviolence has ripple effects that extend beyond the individual. When one person lets go of anger, it prevents further harm to future generations. In the words of the Buddha, hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is the eternal rule. For example, countries that have embraced peaceful resolutions to conflicts, such as South Africa during its post-apartheid era, demonstrate how forgiveness and reconciliation can lead to lasting peace. Encouragement to practice nonviolence. While the journey to nonviolence is challenging, it is also profoundly rewarding. As you practice, remember that every small act of kindness and forgiveness contributes to a more peaceful world. If you're inspired by these teachings, consider subscribing to our channel, Buddhism in Modern Life. Together, we can explore practical ways to apply Buddhist wisdom to our daily lives and create a ripple effect of positive change. As we've seen, nonviolence is not just a lofty ideal but a practical approach to resolving conflicts and healing wounds. However, truly embracing this principle requires a deeper understanding of forgiveness, the courage to face pain, and the discipline to practice compassion daily. In the next part of this article, we'll explore how to implement these teachings in complex real-world situations, from interpersonal conflicts to global crises. Stay tuned as we dive deeper into the transformative power of Buddhist nonviolence. If you're finding this discussion valuable, Don't forget to engage with us by leaving a comment or sharing this content. Your interaction helps spread the message of peace and compassion further. Real-life applications of nonviolence in personal conflicts. In our daily lives, conflicts are inevitable, whether with family, friends, or co-workers. These conflicts may seem small, but they can snowball into larger issues if not addressed mindfully. How can the Buddhist practice of nonviolence guide us in such moments? 1. Reframing arguments. Imagine a heated argument with a colleague over a misunderstanding. Instead of reacting impulsively, take a mindful pause. Breathe deeply and remind yourself of the Buddha's teaching. Anger does not resolve problems. Approach the situation with curiosity instead of judgment. Ask, what is causing this tension? How can we work together to find a solution? This reframing can turn an argument into an opportunity for growth. 2. Family disputes. Family dynamics can be challenging, with emotions running high due to closeness. For example, a parent and child might clash over differing life choices. In such situations, practicing nonviolence means approaching conversations with compassion and patience. One could say, I understand your perspective, and I appreciate you sharing it. Can we find a middle ground? Such an approach diffuses tension and fosters mutual respect. 3. Letting go of grudges. Holding on to past grievances harms not only relationships but also personal well-being. A Buddhist story illustrates this beautifully. Two monks were traveling together when they came across a woman needing help to cross a river. One monk carried her across, and they continued their journey. Hours later, the second monk complained, "Why did you carry that woman? It is against our rules." The first monk replied, "I set her down hours ago, but you are still carrying her." This story reminds us that letting go of grudges frees us from unnecessary burdens, paving the way for inner peace. While personal applications of nonviolence are transformative, its impact on a global scale is equally profound. 1. Ending cycles of war. History is replete with examples of violent conflicts that perpetuate endless cycles of revenge. Yet, there are also shining examples of nonviolence leading to profound change. Mahatma Gandhi's leadership. Gandhi's nonviolent resistance against British colonial rule in India inspired millions. By using peaceful protests and civil disobedience, he demonstrated that immense political and social change could be achieved without resorting to violence. Nelson Mandela's forgiveness. After decades of imprisonment, Mandela chose forgiveness over retribution, leading South Africa toward reconciliation and healing after apartheid. These leaders exemplify how Buddhist principles of nonviolence can influence global movements. 2. Conflict resolution between nations. Nonviolence is not merely the absence of conflict, it is the active pursuit of peace. International organizations like the United Nations often draw on principles akin to Buddhist teachings to mediate disputes. For example, peace treaties often emphasize understanding and compromise, mirroring the Buddha's advice to see from the perspective of the other. The inner work of forgiveness. One of the most challenging aspects of nonviolence is the practice of forgiveness. Forgiveness requires confronting one's pain and choosing to release resentment. This process is neither quick nor easy, but its rewards are profound. 1. Forgiveness as liberation. When we forgive, we free ourselves from the chains of anger and bitterness. This does not mean condoning harmful actions, but rather choosing not to let them define our emotional state. For example, a woman who forgives her estranged sibling after years of conflict finds not only reconciliation but also a profound sense of inner freedom. 2. Self-forgiveness. Often, the hardest person to forgive is oneself. Buddhism teaches that self-compassion is an integral part of nonviolence. Recognizing our mistakes, learning from them, and letting go of guilt are essential steps toward inner peace. To integrate nonviolence into daily living, consider these practical steps. 1. Daily reflection. At the end of each day, reflect on moments when you felt anger or frustration. Ask yourself, how could I have responded more compassionately? 2. Mindful communication. Practice speaking in ways that build understanding rather than conflict. For example, use "I feel" statements instead of accusations. 3. Acts of kindness. Small acts, like helping a neighbor or offering a kind word, Embody the spirit of nonviolence and create positive ripples in your community. Buddhist parables on nonviolence. Parables have long been a vehicle for conveying Buddhist wisdom. One such story is the tale of Angulimala, the robber turned saint. Angulimala was a notorious bandit who terrorized villages. One day, he encountered the Buddha, who did not run but calmly engaged with him. The Buddha's compassion and wisdom moved Angulimala so deeply that he renounced his violent ways and became a monk. This story illustrates the transformative power of compassion and nonviolence, even in the face of great danger. As individuals, our ability to influence global peace may seem limited. However, every act of nonviolence we practice contributes to a larger culture of compassion. Imagine a world where people approach conflicts with understanding instead of aggression. This vision can become a reality if we each take small, consistent steps. If this message resonates with you, join our journey by subscribing to Buddhism in Modern Life. Together, we can explore practical ways to apply Buddhist wisdom in creating a more peaceful world. The Buddha's teachings on nonviolence remind us that true strength lies in compassion, and true peace begins within. By embracing forgiveness, practicing empathy, and choosing understanding over anger, we can break the cycles of hatred that plague our lives and our world. As you reflect on these teachings, consider this. What kind of legacy do you want to leave for future generations? By choosing nonviolence today, you pave the way for a more harmonious tomorrow. Thank you for joining this exploration of Buddhist nonviolence. May it inspire you to create peace in your own life and beyond. Nam Buddhaya.